welcome to the presentation by the creative writing class YMA2016. Here are a selection of new work, metaphors in prose and poetry that the students have written over the past 2 weeks. I'd like to also invite you to look at the magazine. There will be some of them available in the lobby. There's work in here that you won't be hearing these days. There's also artwork by the YMA art class in the zine, which is "The Sky is Only Paper, Stars Fell to the Streets." Now sit back and enjoy, and I'd also like to ask you to hold all your applause till the end. Thank you so much.
This poem is called Laments of a Toy Poodle. For what seemed like an eternity, the girl played with your curly ears and poofy tail, bedraggling you and heaving you around. She called you frou-frou and made you talk. It was the closest thing to being alive you'd ever get. But soon you were pushed onto the shelf that was now full of math books, not dolls. She barely looked at you when you most wanted attention, but you could not bark, and you could not wipe the silly smile off your face. Once you fell over and she didn't prop you back up. You wanted to lick her face, but you had no tongue, and she didn't care.
Someone I know. His vision is clouded with others' heavy opinions. His hands and knees are red and the rest is gray. He hides behind musty pages and clunky headphones. He doesn't say much to the rest of them, because he knows if he does, they'll talk back. They say the kind of things no one wants to hear. He's tall. He doesn't like to hug short people like me, because he knows they can hear the thumping that's been ringing in his ears since Sacramento. Sometimes he hugs me. That's one of the things that doesn't make sense to him. He's good at math, though. It has rules.
Friendship. When you and I struggle to heave the saddle onto his back, we are making a seat for me, but not you. When you and I strain to tighten the girth around his belly, we are making the seat for me safe. When you and I coax the metal rod between his teeth, we are giving me control. When you lace your fingers together, you are making it easy for me to ride away on him, but without you.
Molly. She can't see through the early morning smokescreen of her breath. This December is darker than the coffee she holds, and just about as wet. Her hair hangs limp, a useless umbrella swinging by her side. Streetlights cast a fuzzy glow over the same old scene, a cigarette butt choked, overflowing gutter below a grimy sidewalk. Her phone chimes and she steps into a doorway to take a call. Her hair is in her face, but she ignores it. There are church bells in the distance. It's 5 a.m. Not that it matters to her. It's been eons since she slept at all. The rain is still falling. Rain, rain, rain. She wonders if these hovering clouds do anything else. She hangs up. Her sigh is as heavy as the water tumbling from the sky.
Artists, dancers, photographers, and writers. Sounds bounce from wall to wall, end to end, bodies still without wind. Sounds are now tire swings, creaks, or laughter.
A green breeze runs to my skin, clinging on tightly. Right foot, left foot. My hips are toddlers on a swing set, moving me across the sidewalk. Smells of natural gases, or maybe something hidden, dead rats, pollute the air. There used to be a pool of laughing kids splashing around and one shrieking teen. A dog does his happy prance when he passes by. His smile says, "Look, I'm on a walk." I continue on the path. A sign reads, "Thank you for not smoking," yet the wicked scent of cigarettes threatens my nose. Soon I enter the wastelands. Green goop bubbles in the cracks and crevices of civilization. The heat of red vessels pulls my vision closer, a perfect sunrise nectarine with one deep canyon down the center. I am between home and reality. I am between the sound of scratched Beatles records and bleached stone buildings. Once upon a time, I lived in reality. Now I live with wisteria and foxglove lakes, petals like fairy wings dancing around my 5-year-old self.
Dear Fingers, now that we've gotten to know each other, I would just like to say that you are prone to hangnails that I could really live without. Sometimes you're clumsy, like a sleep-deprived octopus. You drop things like jars and glasses, or the occasional piece of toast, and my toes suffer the consequences. You bleed when I don't have Band-Aids, and you're not really meant to be dressed up with rings, but you always look beautiful with ink stains.
He ate strawberries instead of plums and was never romantic, treating girls as flowers. He always stayed 30, never treating his birthday as a real day. His hair was pepper and frail. Wrinkles and sunspots dotted his face from years of smiling at protest signs and knives. He slipped into a cotton bed, too hard for a cat to sleep on. Moons and stars highlighted the walls of his sunken bones. Blankets folded over limbs and veins increasingly getting cold. You can't describe something of death, but you can create it.
She will lead you through ivy-cloaked tunnels, paint the overpass red with her clicking heels, sparrows feathering the hairs on her arms, an inky image under the indigo interstate sign.
Blue glass egg, you, cupped in child's hands, hands that are rough from bark dust and sticky from juice, used to holding rocks, not glass, not used to you so mottled and fair, of scum on a warm ocean. The child speaks, like a cat walking on a summer morning. You are the buried treasure in the vegetable garden, nestled near sleeping potato, under the raspberry trellis. You are what the child brings to school in pockets. The child spins you in circles, like honey spreading from the cracked jar in the pantry. The child found it one day. Ants swarmed over the spill.
The future is at 3rd Avenue, a slim, intense native New Yorker. She is the lonesome payphone emotions of our former lives. At the southeast corner of the intersection, she gleams like a futuristic monolith in the spirit of hail and farewell, minting money from a goldsmith. Her golden lion tamarind has the rhythm of sketch comedy. She puts the hinged doors back on the phone booth and wears a slinky dress of golden fishnet.
Dread is a spire of yellow bone reaching into small. It seems to have jaws that gasp and crunch and spit screams. Patience has no place here. The spire, out of the ink it juts, out of the nightmare, out of clowns who vomit silly string. A bell of iron rings 100 times through the tunnel of night. A blue rose blooms on red skin. The petals murmur. The roots stretch deep.
Ekphrasis for Royal Nutterker. Shooting marbles. Chilly half-smiles hidden under the shadows of caps, long loops of twine, or perhaps a chunk of stolen chalk carves their little world onto cement. Long loop of twine, they cast, flick, spin milky ribbons in glass, carves their little world onto the cement. A fortune in Mars bars awaits the victor. They cast, flick, spin milky ribbons in glass, lunch money, closely clutched dimes. A fortune in Mars bars awaits the victor under the watchful, rain-wet windows of skyscrapers. Lunch money, closely clutched dimes, buildings looming like dominoes. Under the watchful, rain-wet windows of skyscrapers, the kids huddle and hunch. The city can wait. Buildings looming like dominoes, or perhaps a chunk of stolen chalk. The kids huddle and hunch. The city can wait. Chilly half smiles under the shadows of caps.
Clicking eyes capture sketch. Lions fighting a tempest of monkeys. Flesh shines in the fluorescent light. Papers flying through minds. So many coffee cups. They appreciate the life of mannequins. A stray shoulder blade holds the weight of the air. Pop.
Spindly tree. The tangled limbs of a moss-dazzled tree. It's spotted with white patches. Perhaps decay? If I straightened out all the limbs, the tree would be as tall as a great pine. But something tells me that this tree likes to be squat. A labyrinth of the patchy shapes and growth, a journey in and of itself. At some point, a birdhouse was perched on its limbs. It does not house birds now, but spiders with fairy tale webs. Blue sun filters through spear-shaped leaves. It has done so since the tree was a sapling, twining itself out of the earth. The tree and the sun have grown familiar. When it snows, the flakes fall like swan feathers onto the tree. And when it rains, the drops beat down. But the tree and its twisted trunk hold out for sun.
Personification of excitement. Her hair is bright pink with faded blonde patches. Her eyelashes are so long and thick that they press against her circular chestnut glasses. She squirms in a large armchair, attempting not to drown in the upholstery. The straps of her knee-length dress slide off her petite shoulders. Her hands are so cold and tiny that you just want to take them in yours and press them against your face, although her warm smile and kind eyes thaw her frozen fingers.
Floating. She peered through the shower at the tire swing that the creek had swallowed. The rain streamed down her back as it was searching for a secret concealed by her black raincoat. Her family were all inside, but like the tire swing that disappeared into the creek, she was drowned in them. You have to imagine that rain means thinking. The pattering sound of the drops gives you a quiet place in your mind. You have to imagine that rain gives you an excuse to wonder if the rope of the tire swing in the creek will float away.
We sit on a crusty beach towel spread on cool sand, the wind blowing notebook pages back and forth like the kites. Dogs kick up the sand with eager paws, and the shrieks of people finding strange things in tide pools fill the air. Waves drag sand into their cold, salty arms. Clear green water protects tiny fish. Tourists search for shells, and I sketch a gull that's landed on a rock in front of me. I've never been as good with birds as I am with horses. The seagull only blinks a red eye as I move closer. The rock is encrusted with barnacles like gemstones, and some sort of mossy growth. Below the waterline, seaweed drifts like my thoughts. And then there are the anemones, green and purple, their plump lips with the remnants of their latest meal. Their flapper curl fringe droops, and the seagull cries out like a red-tailed hawk. The anemones are sad, but I kind of like them. The seagull is now bored and neglected, and it flies off to feast on litter. The anemones wave goodbye to a receding tide.
Forrest, I remember when I was young and just a mischievous child. You and I went into the woods behind the backyard, walking through light shadowed trails that led anywhere. You telling a tale about a coyote, and how you got lost when his mother wasn't around. Then switching to hilarious stories about your life and the ways kids should be in this new century. You led me hand in hand through a thick forest in which I did not know my way around. You walked, and me, I just followed. Curiosity swirled around me, no rest, no running, step by step. You walked, and I looked around in amazement until you halted, and I bumped into you from behind.
Hair. Sometimes you are a pain. You are like smoke shoving itself into my mouth, tasting like warm ginger snaps and heirloom roses. There is so much of you. Washing you is worse than vacuuming the rug in the living room, the red and gold squares that trump the dog hair. Not to mention all the hair I shed, leaving thick dark strands behind each step I take, clogging shower drains and tricking me into thinking you're there's a stringy spider crawling up my shoulder. But still, you are a curtain to hide my face, a distraction during class. Hold on, you're caught in the door. I can't leave without you.
On the way, we are full of backyards and high schools, looked over by cars buzzing like cicadas. Our bodies move for nature. We should never make it move for us. We are still surrounded by clouds of pollution and bubbling algae. In the garden, a man clutches a watering can in each hand. He doesn't realize water is sloshing on his dusty blue jeans and wrinkled tan hands. Tree branches touch his aged arms when he walks through the thick garden. I bet he remembers planting every seed.
Time is cut into seconds, a bone curved with the body, shades of graying colors and cuts on a blood-stained leaf. Lines like from fingernails driven deep within, the leaf will only temporarily be beautiful. One day it will wither and die. A shadow hangs along the bone, misshapen and elegant, soft, the color of a dusted feather. The leaf so thin it glides with the wings that departed the hollow air. I, ghost leaf, want to be left like the washing sea.
Hamlet and Ophelia. He is speaking gibberish, flailing his arms around, his knees thrumming against her knees. Ride easy, she murmurs, dipping her index finger into the glass of whiskey. She likes the sting racing up her cuticles. When she stands to leave, she hands the bartender a crumpled $20 bill with a lopsided smile, never meeting his gaze when he asks what brought her here, to this bar. Her blue velvet pants swish as she throws open the back door, the belches of thugs dying out, the guitar solo of Sweet Home Alabama stopping. Her hips swing as she struts out of the dusty parking lot, continuing up I-5 North, no backpack, no bike. There is a magnolia tree wilting in the winds of March.
Night, a pliable time, with disturbed dreams on crisp sidewalks. Stars are dwarfed, like dry embers. Anonymous tabby cat pads, collared, no tag.
Eyes oozing with drops of reds and purples and greens. She has an ice face and matted hair. She clenches her teeth, never mind the hot pain screeching in her jaw, and stumbles forward into smoke.
Friends, the screen buzzes. I click a button, and the dragon is felled. The dragon always falls, like the words we never share. You are in another world. You sit next to me, empty eyes following your own foes. Now a champion, now a red-clad toy of a man, now a zombie horde. We snack on silence. The couch cushions aren't enough to prop us up. My breath is careful. I fear the approach of a dragon I can't fell.
The meteorology of morning. The ghost of the storm drifted through town, all broken cotton swaths of cloud and the evanescent embers of withering winds, which had been gale force enormities only hours before, but which now slipped through the streets on velvet, slippered tiptoes. When the drizzle finally stopped its incessant tippling tattoo upon her window panes, Esme looked up from her New Yorker and took a sip of her black coffee. The moment after a good rain ends always made her think back to the creek behind her uncle's woodshed, where she went most afternoons in the autumn after 5th grade. She went to press her parents' screaming silences and hand-me-down fury out of her head with her kneading knuckles. She went to paddle her feet between the lily pads. She went to breathe alongside the frogs and the poplars and the wood grouse in the underbrush. She admired them. They slipped through the days and the rain so easily. You have to imagine that a thing as quotidian and predictable as precipitation can be more moving than the clockwork coming and going of weather patterns you see on the morning news as animated infographics. The forecast tinkers with our expectations, teaching us our memories will follow a schedule, dipping fingertips in puddles, watching the cedars weep without worry, thinking it must tickle the creek to ripple so much in the downpour. Our grief starts out over the Pacific, but it never ends there.
Sleepover. Red and yellow pucks plunked into columns and rows in aquarium bubbles. I'm so tired, but he gets me sometimes. The beat repeats from 30 minutes ago. This is the third time we've made it through this album. I'm so tired. Clack, 4 in a row. Saw it coming. The pucks chink as they fall on the carpet. There's a root beer on the line, and he is determined to defeat me. The clock ticks. I'm so tired.
Far Street. We crossed the smooth street. I got that feeling I always get when crossing an intersection with no stop sign. My feet pattered on the hot pavement, sticky with tire grease. Just yesterday, a little boy, younger than I, stepped on the warm road, his hand clutched in his mother's. The little boy dropped the cherry lollipop he held in his mouth, leaving a splotch of color on the street. Later, a heartbroken lady carrying a dirty leather briefcase wept tears onto the stain, watering it down and leaving it tidy again. A couple, fresh out of a spaghetti date at Giovanni's Italian restaurant, held hands for the first time on their journey across the street. They were followed by a gangster with rose-colored tattoos, a white scar, a bald head, and a nose piercing, who spit tobacco as he swaggered over the pavement. That evening, a fretting city worker cleaned up the spots.
Friendship metaphor. We somehow got lost on our way to the park, even though it was just around the corner. But we're here now, pumping our legs on the swing set, just out of sync with each other. We don't talk. All we do is swing just high enough to touch our toes to the trees. Your long legs will probably reach the branches before mine, but it doesn't need to be a race. I am content swinging in silence with you in the sun-soaked early afternoon.
Sweaty hands. She was totally weirded out, but she was trying to be nice because she didn't want to make him cry or anything. He was already tomato red. She and Finn were in the school cafeteria. He was standing behind her, so she had to twist around in her seat to look at him. His lips were pressed into a tight smile. He had asked her to go to Mod Pizza with him. She didn't want to. She didn't know if she could date, first of all, and she didn't like Finn enough anyway. But she didn't want to hurt his feelings. Finn just shifted from foot to foot. He was wearing Birkenstocks with socks. She didn't know a nice way to say no. She twisted her sweaty hands and then just blurted out to Finn that she didn't really like him at all. His shoulders slumped. He said, okay, in a voice she couldn't hear in the noisy cafeteria, and then he shuffled away in his Birkenstocks.
This is called Harbors, and it's about painting. Trees like porcupine spines have scratched the sky. It bled dry and turned gray, and its blood stained the air. Now it's caught in ash crosshairs, unable to move. The light, but not the sun, shines weakly, but it still goes through a yellow house, and the house shatters. The house is only glass, the trees are only steel, the sky is only paper. The trees grow, standing like sentries, perched like harpies. The house is thin, but strong as spider silk, and will remain that way, no matter how the sky bleeds.
Joy or sadness, sitting in a church and no one around with the creaks of old doors. There sits a boy, short brown hair and wine-colored eyes. Rain pounds against the church, a rhythm to stir and echo. The boy sits staring at the floor, wishing for a ray of light in the cold room. His head moves in an arc. He stares at the ceiling as if looking at a parabola, its arch reaching high. He dares to once more look at the altar and ignore the apse that causes discomfort within his stomach. Looking past the altar and past the apse, he sees a curtain. Imagine joyous sadness, two siblings that can never get along, fighting and arguing for centuries. Well, this is what rain feels like. Joy being an angel on your right shoulder, giving you good advice, and sadness a devil on your left shoulder, telling you to lie.
Last night, the reflection of the universe splashed on paper bodies and sand, through molasses pools polluted by rainbow oils, beneath silver falls painted with growling bears and wild horses, along the breath of mother's carrot cake and laughter of father, 1,000 strings rang in my ears. The tick of a clock, silence, just ink scratching into unbound notebooks, the clack of jammed thoughts on a typewriter. I traveled through the grains of wood embedded with peeling sunburns. I tried to find the hidden treasure, but it's hard to find treasure without an X. Tangled letters unwinded into tangled words, like multicolored Christmas lights left in the attic. You could attempt to turn the held-down page, but don't you dare rip it, alone with an indecisive crowd of chatter in my head.
She sat in that leather cookie dough armchair for hours on end, maybe days. She can't sleep in her bed anymore because his side is empty. She's become very good at balancing her life on little sleep. She lets the mail pile up because retrieving it from its little box was his job, even with his empty head. Sometimes she still finds the small peppermints he hid in drawers and pockets. Everybody knows they taste terrible, but we still let them dissolve on our tongues for no reason at all.
When the rain falls, it pushes secrets into the sidewalk cracks. He never liked the way the sun felt. It reminded him of his mother and the banged-up bracelets that danced around her wrists when she left. Nothing was left with him, just a low smoke and the bullet raindrops hitting his lips, a flow of ifs and buts spilling over him. He is afraid of the rain. You must imagine that. I can no longer see his face, nor can he.
4 p.m., pedaling home on the winding bike path, where clouds bruise to patches of plum wine. A fawn waits at the end of the road before the hill. Drooping ryegrass leans against wildflowers around the ravine, the bittersweet smell of swan feathers. Blind lovers are painted on the surface of the sky, and my bike basket overflowing with my love for you.
Journey. Use the fountain as an inkwell. I hear the bells toll the hour, like my grandmother's grandfather clock.
Trying to write a novel. She grinned and stepped onto a rock, water gargling itself beneath her. She stays perched on that damp rock, her bare feet scrambling for a hold.
Wings of a wallflower. It's like bringing a cat to a dog park. Life's daily tax. Our words are drops in a dry lake, peaches in an apple orchard. Life's daily tax, a frown is just 1,000 shards of glass, peaches in an apple orchard. Maybe the Roman candle should stay in its box. A frown is just 1,000 shards of glass. Love grabs hold with hands of barbed wire.
Impatience. The heavy weight of a moment, pendulum, a suspended teardrop, a teasing sneeze. A rectangle bounding the space of seconds between blinks and sighs. Where have all the yellow taxis gone? Red haze of caffeine, miasmic exhaustion, eyes bloodshot. Morning pressing in on all sides, a vice grip on my temples. I feel my day swing side, creak, sway. On the fulcrum of heartbeats between my doorstop and the bus stop, when the city rolls over in bed, stretching, shivering a little. Every body knows in its white blood cells and its synaptic gaps that the sun creeps closer to them now, even now. So little space between dreaming and feet landing firmly on the floor of today, a newborn revision of yesterday. So revise yourself, cut the adverbs, flip the pronouns, call a spade a spaniel, call a bigot a broken spigot, and fetch a wrench. Erase your assumptions, use your breath and lips like chisels to cut the world a new geometry. People pare diamonds down and trim wicks and prune begonias. Why should your thoughts be any different? There is always another smile to meet with open arms. Another opening to arm yourself with, not against. Smile as the taxis drive by, and wait.
Or even ballet slippers. First of all, I'm not a man, just like you are not a squirrel. It's like assuming you know the contents of a lockbox without unlocking it. Who's to say that there's cash, checks, or a birth certificate when sheet music, makeup, tap shoes can be as valuable? And then the passcode is taken, stolen, by your hands and mine. I'll never escape the terror, but for a beach trip.
A story is a confrontation with a sun sprite.
A story is turned away from me, but I can see her tan skin and smiling cheeks.
A story is a hot tub filled with heart-shaped boxes of secrets that I think I know.
A story is a pool of acidic memories and boiling wishes.
Story is paper written by a scar.
A story is sugarcane dancing in the beat of a burnt-out heart.
A story is paper and smoke without a single match.
A story is the sky dance of green and the rice of the blue ocean.
A story is thugs with bluebells melting from their ears.
A story is a toddler in spectacles.
A story is a hula hoop made of moonlight held together by red strings.
A story is, can I just have my backstory?
A story is a fire starter, waiting for the friendless to find each other like flint and tinder.
A story is all the fear to create my body.